I'll be honest with you. If there were no kind of side stories to follow, I'd still really enjoy tonight's game, right? It's Canes. It's they're on a little bit of a playing well streak. I would be into the game. But I love a game that has side plots. Right? I love a game that has these narratives woven into it, right? And this one tonight has maybe too many. It's overflowing with intrigue. It's like SNL, Saturday Night Live's in their 50th season. It's like Stefan, right? This one has everything. It's got a Teuvo Teravainen reunion. That would have been enough, right? Teuvo Teravainen coming back, that's an interesting bit, right? And he obviously has a history with both Chicago and Carolina. Now they're converging. It's his first time back since leaving Carolina. There's national friendships, right? He and others that are now on the team. That would be enough right there. Something kind of, okay, I'll also track how Teuvo reacts or interacts with everybody and how he attacks players that used to be his teammates and how the teammates attack him and everything else. But then you add in, it's also Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall's home debut since the trade for the Carolina Hurricanes. Maybe the story of the last, 2 months in the NHL is now coming to Raleigh for the first time. 2 games on the road. Now they're back. And they're both still hunting for their first goals as Canes. So they're like, not only are they making their home debut, they're also looking to, check off a whole bunch of firsts off their to-do list as Carolina Hurricanes. Also, speaking of Taylor Hall, there's so many stories. It's his first game against the team that he was playing for like a week ago.
Yeah, literally.
And by the way, didn't probably utilize him. Didn't play him enough. There's probably some like, hey, I see what I can do. Look what I do when I'm cut loose. Look what they're using me to do.
It's funny. His last game for the Chicago Blackhawks was a home game against the Carolina Hurricanes.
I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
That's funny too. Frederik Andersen is going to be celebrated for his 500th career game and his 300th win. So he's not on the ice, right? Or at least hopefully. Pyotr Kochetkov will be the guy in net, but Frederik Andersen will be celebrated, which is just another side plot because 500 games for a goaltender is nothing to scoff at. It's something that should be celebrated, and you don't want to sweep that under the rug with a big game going on. And then on top of that, Sebastian Aho is a game-time decision with an illness, which Jack Roslovic had missed practices and games with an illness, so maybe there's something going around. That's just another are we going to get the flu game? Are we going to get Jordan after the food poisoning? Are we going to get the Sebastian Aho flu game? By the way, shout out to Chip Alexander. I saw this in one of his tweets. Covers the team. Teuvo was told that Aho was battling an illness and game time decision, and Teuvo Teravainen said, "Oh, I bet he plays."
Yeah, he's a warrior.
Yeah. Know that guy. I'm not going to go out there with any expectations that number 20 won't be in the opposing team's lineup. And if we wanted to dive in further, I'm sure we could find even more storylines that if all of these weren't going on, they would move to a more prominent place. Right? Svetch playing well on a bit of a heater might be like the entire narrative if there wasn't all this other stuff going on. Maybe if Riley Stillman's back in the lineup. That there's smaller side plots, but you don't need those when you have these giant ones. And because of all of that, here's how I'm kind of feeling it. This roster is brand new, okay? The way we judge this squad is different than the way we judged the squad 2 weeks ago. Right? This roster is brand new. So in learning the personality of this roster, I think we're going to kind of get to see if this team yet. I don't want to act like if they don't show it today, they're never going to show it. We get to see if this team has the X factor thing today. Mm-hmm. Right? I talk about the Jeters, the Kobes, Crosbys of the world. They didn't get like Jeter didn't get 2 hits in every game of his entire career. But it does seem like every time like a kid saved up all their pennies and bought tickets to go to one game that Jeter had a double in the 9th inning. Like it always felt like whatever the occasion was to rise to, that he rose to it. I've talked about this with Crosby. And actually it happened, I think, last year. The Penguins were coming to Carolina, and I was like, what you hope happens is you hope Carolina wins by 2 goals, but everybody leaves with that one, like, hey, Sidney Crosby story, right? You want to make sure your team wins, but if you're going to see a guy that's going to go into some upper levels of the Hall of Fame, you want to be like, hey, it's pretty sweet. And then I want to say, and I don't want to quote this because someone will go check the stat. I think he had 2 goals and the Canes won, and I was like, that's the thing, right? Like, that is like, there are a bunch of people that bought tickets because they're like, oh, the Penguins are in town. Let me see it. They got their story. Canes got a win, but you knew Crosby was going to do something. This team, if they have that it thing, tonight's going to be one of those games, right? The game will start with energy, just like at a horse race and the gates are closed. Just waiting to start sprinting. The energy's already going to be at the door. Or for a better way to describe it, since the Lenovo Center also co-hosts NC State men's basketball. The feeling when the home team was down like 15 and they've scored 14 straight to make it a 1-point game, and a 3-pointer is in the air to take a 2-point lead, and everybody's... and it's in the air, and if it goes in, goodness gracious, the roof is going to come off this place, right? It's everybody's hands are already in fists because they're just ready to pump the fist pump. Everybody's waiting. That's how the game's going to start tonight. That's how the game's going to start. This is the first time the Lenovo Center crowd, the home crowd, gets to see Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall. You're playing well. You just boat raced for Zippy, the Rangers. People are going to show up ready to scream. It is going to be a warm room. If they have the it thing, something will happen in the first period that gives everyone the chance to just let that release. That's what's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to be a finished product. I'm not saying they'd have to play well the whole game. Heck, sometimes energy like that leads to like a turnover right in the middle of the ice and a goal the other way because you're too amped. But I want to see if they can sense the moment and find a way to fulfill it. Rod Brind'amour talked about Mikko and Hall both having to fit in and the adjustment time that we will allow them, even as we still ask for a couple signature moments.
Well, they're smart hockey players. I mean, hockey's hockey. There's certain fundamentals that go through it for every team. And, when you're a good player, you can adjust, and I think quickly, and those guys have been around. But it'll take time, just more than anything, just get comfortable feeling like part of the group and not thinking out there. I think that's just going to take time. That's natural. But those guys are veteran guys.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. The high hockey IQ guys, I'm not saying they're going to be out there playing sloppy as we give them time to adjust. I'm saying the best is still yet to come, right? They will only get to know each other better and better and better. But it's going to be a fun game, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, like you said, all the storylines. But could you imagine if Rantanen and Hall, if those guys score tonight, that place is going to explode.
We do have first goal scorer predictions coming up at 4:33. Who's going to score the first goal for the Canes, and in what period do they score it? And I'll just say it. If one of the new guys scores it in the first, it'll go bonkers. Mm-hmm. Just absolute. Or even if they're involved in it. If you get like a Svetch goal off a feed like Rantanen had against the Rangers to start things, or the one from Hall, that right there would be absolutely bananas as well.
Folks, you want Mikko Rantanen to stay? Show him love.
It's good. It's a first impression. Can't make a first impression twice.
Yep. Show him love.
That's really a good point.